My name is Christine. It's been 30 years since my husband, Kevin, and I got married. After we got married, we started living with Kevin's mother, Karen. Kevin's father passed away in a car accident over 10 years ago, and since Karen was living alone, Kevin suggested that we all live together. Last month, Karen passed away due to illness. Karen was a stubborn and difficult person. When we first started living together, I had a hard time dealing with her.
Your cooking is terrible. You're so slow. I'll handle everything around the house, so you don't need to do anything.
That's what she would say, and she wouldn't let me do any of the housework. Since I was working full-time, it was a relief to have her handle the chores, but I always felt guilty and on edge. I'm sorry. Let me help.
You're in the way, so don't bother coming.
With that attitude, I wasn't able to help at all. Karen always got up earlier than me and made an elaborate breakfast every morning. She even prepared a nutritious lunch for me to take to work. In the evenings, when I got home from work, dinner, cleaning, and laundry were all perfectly done.
Honestly, Christine, you can't even iron properly. What a hopeless daughter-in-law you are.
She would say that while ironing my shirts and handkerchiefs. Karen was the perfect homemaker, the complete opposite of me.
Christine, you really can't do any housework, can you? They call people like that bad wives, don't they?
She would say all sorts of sarcastic things, but over time, I got used to it. She's just not very open. She's doing all this housework for me, but she's too shy to admit it. Thinking that way made her seem a little more endearing. So, no matter what she said, I didn't let it get me down and started talking to her more and more. By the time a year had passed, I was smiling at her sarcastic remarks and joking back. On our days off, we would have snacks together, watch TV dramas and talk about them, go shopping or to the movies, and even travel together. Since I lost my mother when I was young, I thought of Karen as my real mother.
Christine, where should we go for our next trip?
How about Vermont? There are lakes and beautiful highlands there.
Vermont? That sounds nice.
One day, while we were having this conversation, Kevin chimed in.
What's with the two of you? Let me join in.
Oh no, it's a girl's day out.
You're not exactly girls anymore.
What did you say?
Okay, so, how about we all go together next time?
Yeah, maybe it would be nice to go on a trip with Kevin once in a while.
That year, we went on a trip with Kevin, making it the three of us. I was struck by how Karen was so excited, almost like a little girl. But even though she was so lively then, about a year ago, she started falling ill more frequently, going in and out of the hospital several times. 6 months ago, she was admitted and never came back home. I wanted to repay her for everything she had done for me, so I devoted myself to taking care of her. But during her entire hospital stay, not a single relative came to visit. Kevin's brother, Scott, left all the caregiving to me and never came to see her even once. Of course, I had kept Scott and his family informed about Karen's condition over the phone. One day, I asked Kevin, "Why doesn't Scott and his family come to visit?"
Scott met his current wife, and just 1 week later, he decided to marry her. Mom told him, Why don't you wait a little longer? But he got angry and went ahead with the marriage anyway. Ever since then, he's been distant from Mom.
But as a parent, it's natural for her to be concerned. Marrying someone after only a week sounds too soon. After that, Scott told the rest of the family a lie, saying they were against his marriage to a longtime girlfriend. That caused the relatives to ostracize Karen. Karen tried to explain that it was a misunderstanding, but since she was already known for being difficult, no one believed her. So, is it Scott's fault that none of the relatives come to visit her?
Yeah, pretty much. I explained the situation to the family, but they already didn't like Mom, so they've kept their distance.
When I heard that, I felt truly sorry for her. Karen may have been difficult, but I knew deep down she was just a bit shy and awkward. And it wasn't just the relatives who were distant. It seemed like Karen didn't have any friends who would visit her or go out with her, and she must have been lonely for a long time. To make sure Karen wasn't alone, I took a leave of absence from work and visited the hospital every day, staying with her as much as I could.
How are things at home without me? Don't worry about me. Go home and take care of the house.
Karen said this to me, but I just smiled and brushed it off. Meanwhile, Karen's condition showed no signs of improving and kept getting worse. Then one day, she passed away peacefully in her sleep. Both Kevin and I cried. Even after hearing that Karen was in critical condition, Scott and his family didn't come to the hospital. They didn't even show up for the funeral. But a week after the funeral, Scott and the other relatives suddenly showed up at our house. Apparently, they were here to discuss the inheritance. I didn't know this, but Karen had owned several properties and had quite a large estate.
I'm the oldest son, so I should get the biggest share.
Scott said smugly.
We can't be left out either.
The other relatives chimed in. They didn't even come to the funeral, but they're talking about the inheritance. I was furious. Then I remembered. That's right, Karen gave me a letter before she passed away.
If there's ever a discussion about inheritance, contact this lawyer. I've already talked to them.
The letter had the lawyer's contact information on it. I called the number and explained everything. Hello, this is about Karen's estate.
I understand. I'll come right away.
The lawyer said they would come over immediately. After a short while, the lawyer arrived. After politely greeting all the relatives, the lawyer took a voice recorder out of his bag.
First, I'd like you all to listen to this. It's a message that Karen recorded before she passed away.
He pressed the play button, and Karen's voice came through the recorder.
Thank you all for gathering here today. If you're listening to this, I assume it's to discuss the inheritance. I want to make it clear that I wish for all my estate to go to my second son, Kevin, and his wife, Christine.
At that, the relatives began murmuring in confusion.
Wait, what's going on?
What the hell? How could she leave me, her oldest son, out of this?
Scott was furious.
Please, everyone, calm down. There's more to hear.
The lawyer said as he continued playing the message.
Scott and his family never visited me, even when I was ill, leaving Christine to take care of me. I don't wish to leave anything to such heartless people. On the other hand, Kevin and Christine took me into their home, And I had such a wonderful time living with them for those years. Especially Christine. Even though I said such terrible things, you never gave up. You stayed cheerful and kept smiling. And it was thanks to that smile that I was able to let my guards down ultimately. You kept knocking at that door until I finally opened it. After that, we became like a real mother and daughter. I'm sorry for all the harsh things I said. I'll never forget the trips we took together, the movies, and the shopping we did. Those memories are so precious to me. After I lost my husband and had no friends, I never imagined I would have such a joyful second chapter of life. And it was all thanks to you, Christine. Even when I got sick, you came to visit me in the hospital every day. After I was discharged, you took me on walks every day to help with my rehabilitation. In the end, you even took time off work to care for me. I know it was hard for you, and I can't thank you enough. I was too shy to say this face to face, but I'm truly grateful. I consider you my best friend and my true daughter. Please continue to support Kevin and live a happy life together.
The message ended there. As I listened, tears started streaming down my face. Kevin was also crying beside me.
This message was recorded 1 week before Karen passed away. Her will also clearly states that all her assets are to be inherited by Kevin and Christine.
With that, the lawyer unfolded a document and showed it to the relatives. Frustrated and angry, the relatives left, grumbling on their way out. After they had all gone, the lawyer handed me a paper bag.
This was entrusted to me by Karen.
Inside the bag were bank books, a seal, property deeds, and a notebook. The notebook was filled with detailed instructions on how to manage household chores. There were recipes, cleaning tips, and even stain removal techniques, all clearly illustrated by hand. Karen must have left it for me, knowing I wasn't good at housework. Seeing this, I started crying again. I looked at Karen's photo and whispered, "Thank you, Karen. I'll do my best with the housework using this notebook. I'll make meals for Kevin that are just as good as yours." Since then, I often sit in front of her photo and share updates with her. Sometimes, I even tell her little complaints about Kevin. "Karen, Kevin left his socks inside out again. He's such a child sometimes. Oh, and yesterday, I tried your mac and cheese recipe. It didn't look great, but it tasted amazing." And of course, I shared the most important news with her first. "Karen, guess what? I went to the doctor today, and I'm pregnant. It's Kevin's baby. I wonder if it'll be a boy or a girl. You'd be so happy, wouldn't you? I'm thinking about names now. Please watch over this little one and make sure they grow up healthy, Karen." There's no response, but in her photo, Karen is always smiling.